Now to Liesl Louw-Vaudran, a senior researcher at the Institute for Security Studies in South Africa. Thanks so much for speaking with us, Liesl. You know, with national forces already stretched, pretty thin in a number of African countries, and now, with governments really distracted by the coronavirus, do you think this COVID-19 pandemic has actually opened a window of opportunity of sorts for terrorist groups in Africa?
Yes, we are very concerned about the impact of COVID-19 and the lockdowns and the closing down of borders on peace and security in general. And as you said, there are many areas in the Sahel, around the Lake Chad Basin, in Somalia, and now in northern Mozambique, in the Cabo Delgado province, where there are terrorist activity. And in Mozambique, it's difficult to say whether this increase in the number of attacks that we've seen in the last couple of weeks are linked somehow to the fact that the government has been focusing on COVID-19, although Mozambique only has a little over 20 cases, like others in outside of South Africa, in Southern Africa. But of course, testing hasn't really been done widely, so it's difficult to know what the exact numbers are. But it is true that when it comes to peacekeeping and especially dealing with refugees from these terror attacks in northern Mozambique, there have been more than 150,000 people now having to flee their homes because of the terrorist attacks. And there is concern that humanitarian aid will not reach them and that they are in a really, really precarious situation due to the lockdowns in most countries in Africa.
Right. So even if they're not directly connected, it just compounds these very serious problems that are already there. The issue as well with Mozambique, there is so much. I mean, the economy is struggling in Mozambique as it's struggling all over the world. But in the region in particular where these terror attacks are taking place and these groups are active, there is so much at stake economically for Mozambique. Are natural resources also then factoring into the instability there?
Yes, the northern Mozambique in the last couple of years have had gas finds that are enormous, and that would make Mozambique in the next couple of years one of the biggest gas producers on the globe. Northern Mozambique, that specific province, also produces almost 80% of the world's rubies, so in terms of gemstones. And so natural resources, specifically in that area, really is very important and is going to be increasingly important in the next number of years. Now, this insurgency started at the end of 2017, so it's very difficult not to find a link between the natural resources and then this insurgency, which is linked to Daesh, but all the sources say, even now what we see, the attackers are speaking local languages, it's locally driven, there are links with the outside, but from all the reports that we have, it is linked to the situation of marginalization, of poverty, of unemployment, next to this boom in gas exploration, and people have been driven off their land also due to the gem mining. So,
but it opens up another.
It makes it a toxic mix.
Right. And it opens up another potentially, serious problem here, because not only is the government perhaps more vulnerable to these attacks now because their focus is elsewhere, Daesh can also see this as an opportunity to come into areas that may have these extremist tendencies, but that they weren't previously connected to directly. Could this give them, Daesh operatives, an opportunity to be more active in areas like northern Mozambique and in Africa?
Yes, they have claimed a number of the attacks, increasingly so, and there are many researchers and analysts who say that there is a link between Daesh in northern Mozambique and then in the eastern DRC, smaller groups there, but also linking up the East African coast in Tanzania. I mean, some Mozambicans call these insurgents Al-Shabaab, but there isn't a direct link yet. It's been established, but there is definitely an influence from radical extremists on the East African coast, because northern Mozambique, that province borders directly on southern Tanzania. And so it could be an opportunity, as I say, because of the lockdowns, because of the margins of maneuvering of the governments that are being reduced due to the lockdowns.
Okay.
But the links are also virtual, you know.
Okay. We just have to, right,
Right.
watch the situation very closely, see how this develops from here, given this unprecedented global situation and dynamic right now. Okay, Liesl Louw-Vaudran, thank you so much for joining us there from Pretoria. We really appreciate it.